Okay?
I'm looking at the camera trying to...
I know, it's hard because
It
it's
is.
like
Like
for me,
my brain.
in my brain, I'm about to point to the face of the cat. But it's over here. Anyways. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games.
And
board gaming things.
Exactly. We're back again today with another board game snapshot.
Ba-ja!
I never know.
Ba-ja!
So for anybody that doesn't know, board game snapshot videos, it's where we do 5 mini reviews. So that's what we're doing today. We've got 5 mini reviews or previews, depending on the game. We got 5 games to talk about today. So without further ado, Juno's gonna...
This is odd.
Oh, you can't even... You didn't have your tail up, so people can't even see you. We have 5 mini reviews, and we are going to get started with that right meow. And the first game that we are going to be talking about is actually sponsoring this portion of the video, and that is for Mythlords Classic Monsters. And this is published by Destiny Horizons Inc., like I mentioned, who very kindly sponsored this portion of the video. Now, Mythlords Classic Monsters will be launching on Kickstarter on October 1st, okay? So if you're interested, that's when it's going to be live. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it right now. Mythlords Classic Monsters is a deck-building area control game for 1 to 5 players, where you step into a world where legends clash and classic horror movies come alive. Ooh, spooky. In this game, players will choose their faction, and each faction is led by a classic monster. So you have Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, Wolfman, the creature from the deep, or the Wicked Witch, and these would be known as your commanders, okay? Dracula is your commander-in-chief, basically. President of Mythlords. The game is played over a series of rounds, which each consists of 7 phases. So playing influence tokens, drawing cards, generating power, playing cards, which also allow you to generate power. Power is very important in this game, just FYI. Yeah. Then you could purchase cards with that power. Smart. Obviously, power's like money. Money is power. We all know this. Deploying characters on locations or missions, initiating battle, which is optional. You don't have to fight if you don't want to, but it'll be beneficial for you probably if you do. And then battle is actually done using like a bidding mechanic almost. So you've got, without going into too much detail, but you have a power dial, and then you also have like your sanctum that's going to have some kind of power. So you're going to target somebody, and you're each going to do your little bidding thing, and then you're going to be like, surprise! And that's how you fight.
This is how much power I'm using.
Exactly. And then I also mentioned missions. So completing missions in the game is essentially going to help you unlock powerful abilities for your characters. And that's going to help you in different areas of the game. So in a nutshell, you'll gather cards to construct your army, equipping them with like weapons and vehicles and creatures and spells. You'll conquer various locations, complete missions to unlock abilities. But you need to beware. Okay, be wary. Keep your sanctum protected because your opponents are lurking, ready to strike when you least expect it, which is typical of monsters, so I've been told. Yeah. Yeah.
Monsters love causing chaos.
They sure do. We've been to Halloween Horror Nights, and they had a classic monsters host. Do you remember that? It was like the classic movie monsters. That was years ago. Jeff doesn't remember.
I remember some of the houses, but not that one.
Well, there you go. Anywho's, you'll score points by defeating your rival champions and minions, capturing locations, and fulfilling mission objectives. And the first monster to reach 20 points is crowned the ultimate Mythlord. Okay?
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So that is a little bit about Mythlord's Classic Monsters. Like I mentioned, it is a baby spider. He wants to be a Mythlord. Spiders aren't part of the game. Yet.
Spider's not included.
The spider's not included. Anyways, if you're interested in Mythlords Classic Monsters, as a reminder, it's deck building and area control, and obviously it has kind of like that Halloween style theme. So if it sounds like something you might be interested, all the links, everything that you need will be in the description below. Okay, we all love spooky season. We all love Halloween. We all love horror stuff. And by we all, I mean me, for sure. Oh, and it does have expansions, and then also this is an example of like a play mat that it could come with, but this would be like an upgrade. Okay? So if you'd like to learn more, click them links. You know what to do. You know what time it is.
Next up, we have from Scorelander Games, Flip Dynasty. This was sent to us for review from Scorelander Games. Flip Dynasty is a new iteration on the original Flip.
Just Flip.
On the original Flip. In Flip Dynasty, you are crafting your ideal baseball team.
Heck yeah.
You're going to be crafting that team by drafting cards back and forth with the person you are playing with. All of these baseball players have different teams that they're on, different abilities, different runs they will score. But essentially, the beginning of the game, you're going to be crafting your team by drafting cards back and forth. You can have one position player per team. You can have more, but only one position player is going to score runs.
2 catchers can't score runs because one of them's going to have to be on
pitchers. You can have more than one pitcher that is going to score runs for you when you get to the run score phase. How does that work, Jamie?
Great question. You're asking me?
No.
Oh, wait. How does that work?
How does that work? You're going to be rolling dice. So after the first phase of this game, the first card drafting phase of this game, it then becomes basically a dice roller.
Yeah.
Each player card is going to have a different dice amount that they're going to roll. So the first phase of this, you actually individually roll your own dice and apply matching symbols to players on your team that have those matching symbols on the dice. After that, there is a league roll. So then there's blue are individual, red are league dice.
Facts.
And then each player is going to roll, well, I shouldn't say. One player is going to roll all of the league dice, and then you're going to be drafting those dice.
Yes.
You're going to be drafting those dice together and applying those to the players as well.
They have a bunch of different dice phases on them.
Essentially, how that then works is if you've completed a full player's dice allotments, they're going to score runs for you. If you've matched all of the iconography on a player, it's going to score to the right, and that's going to be more runs, essentially. But if you've allotted the dice and they don't match, it's still going to score runs for you, but it's going to be tapped to the left and score maybe a little bit less. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is score more runs than your opponent, and you're going to be playing through multiple seasons. At the end of every season, there's a playoff, and the playoffs in this game is basically a roll-off. So you're going to be rolling dice and applying those die faces to your players again, and ultimately getting trophies.
Yes.
So then the game is played in a 2-player game. Up to 7 trophies wins the game. At higher player counts, it would be more. But effectively, this game is a incredibly thematic, baseball-themed card drafting, dice drafting game.
Yes.
And race for points.
Yeah, and at the beginning, too, before you even draft your players, you get to, like, draft a manager and then a team, and those have, like, some kind of a special ability. So the manager will have, like, a place to put a die that will affect your team in some way, and then your team will have something. And then one thing that I honestly can't remember if you mentioned, but each team will have an allotment of money.
Yes.
And when you're drafting the players, you have to be able to pay for them.
Yep.
And you put the money on them because later, if you want to keep them, you have to pay more money.
You have to, so each season, your players are going to require like $1 million purchase in order to stay on your team. There are, I can't remember, it's like rookies or prospects. And they don't play for you season 1.
No.
But in the next season, you can pull them up and actually then start utilize them on your team. But as Jamie mentioned, yes, each player has, or each player, me player, has a team and a manager. And the team is going to come with a budget that you can then purchase these players
and
with.
A special ability.
Yeah, and the manager basically allows, it's like a wild. You can place a die on the manager to then utilize it as a wild later on.
Yeah. There
or
is...
re-roll, perhaps,
yes.
I believe. Yeah.
And there are ways to, like, mitigate some of your rolls and stuff with re-rolls, but, like, you are essentially just trying to optimize the dice that you're rolling. So there's obviously a certain level of luck in this game with what you're rolling and the players that you have, and you obviously want to build out your team because some of the players also have different triggers and abilities and different things like that. And then as you're, like, resolving, you're going to tap them basically to the right or the left, and then you're going to resolve those points and all that stuff. Anyways, the point is, did we like it? Yes. We have played Bat Flip, the original. I prefer this one.
Yeah, I really do enjoy this game from, like, a baseball fan perspective. Like, I think there's a lot of cool little, like, baseball games out there. This one plays incredibly easy. It sounds like a lot. And I think in the first play, it does seem like a lot, but once you play it once, it's actually so easy. You're literally just rolling dice and applying dice faces to your players.
Yeah.
And it's combo-y because, like, all these players have, like Jamie mentioned, their own ability.
Yeah.
So, like, one of, your shortstop might be like, hey, if you match all 3 symbols, you get a bonus 5 runs or 5 wins, essentially.
Right.
And I really like the roll-off. They've made some changes in the game. From when we even first got the first prototype, they've changed the playoff system, and the roll-off is really cool. It originally only, like, a certain threshold had to be met in order to make the playoffs, but they've changed that now where, like, everyone makes the playoffs, which instills a little bit more, I guess, interest in the playoffs piece of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, I very much enjoy it. I think it's really cool, and I also prefer this version.
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, I love the artwork. It's so colorful. It's like watercolor stuff, and there's a ton of different players and
kind of cartoony
and everything. Kind of cartoony. Now, I do just want to mention any B-roll that you see, this is a prototype, super prototype. Like, some things have been 3D printed and stuff like that. So obviously, this will all look slightly different with the final copy. But this game is coming to Kickstarter on October 1st. So if it sounds like something you might be interested in, you could definitely check out that Kickstarter page. We'll have it linked below. But for us, we always really enjoy trying out sports games. And we generally have enjoyed most of the sports games that we've played, and this is no exception. And it adds a little bit of a twist. And I love being able to, like, build out your team. I think that part's really
there's
fun.
a ton of cards.
Ton of cards. Totally. But that is Bat Flip Dynasty. All right, next up, we have from Stonemaier Games, Stamp Swap. And this was very kindly sent to us by Stonemaier Games for review. So shout out to Stonemaier Games. Now, Stamp Swaps, it's Stonemaier Games. Yeah, not Mayer. Some people, actually, I don't know. Some people say Stonemaier, but I say Stonemaier.
I probably do sometimes.
Who knows? Anywho's, this game is about collecting stamps. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When we first saw Stamp Swap, we were like, that's an interesting theme, and we're not sure how it's going to work, but I'm here to tell you that it worked. And I assumed I would like it. You weren't sure if you'd like it.
I was very uncertain about the theme.
Very skeptical.
Yeah, stamps are just not something that's going to invoke a lot of emotion in me.
Right. But how do you feel now?
I very much enjoyed it.
In this game, everybody is going to have their own kind of player mat. And at the beginning of each round, and there's only 3 rounds, which are 3 days, you are going to flip over a couple cards that's going to show you the kind of spread of stamps that you are going to be able to select from during that round. Some of them will be face up, and some of them will be face down. So you have 3 phases in a round, and in the first phase, you're collecting, so you're picking a stamp and putting it in at the bottom of your sheet. You're allowed to take, each player will take 6 stamps. So you're going to do that back and forth, but then you can reserve 1 stamp, can't be a rare stamp, then you do a swap. So you have to arrange your stamps into 2 piles, and then the other players, or in our case it was 2 players, the other player will get to select one of your piles to take for their own. So you have to try and be tricky because, like, you might really want something, you don't want someone to take it, so you don't want that pile to look very enticing, essentially. Anyways,
you can see the annoyance on my face for one particular reason. No matter what pile I put my rare stamps in,
I got them.
Jamie would take it.
Freaking got them all.
Even if it was like, well, I probably shouldn't take this one, but I will.
Yeah.
And then it's the rare stamp.
Exactly. So you're going to be swapping until you have, now once again, it's a 2-player game, until you have your own pile and then somebody else's. In a multiplayer game, you could have 2 of somebody else's. And then you are going to be placing your stamps out onto your little sheet. And there's going to be different scoring goals. So each round, you're also going to be scoring one of the goal cards that's face up. And you only get to score one of them each round. You can't score the same one twice. And then you're also going to have different, they're called exhibit cards, which are going to give you like round over round scoring. There's, I can't remember the name of them, but there's like people or whatever that are going to give you maybe an ongoing ability kind of thing. And those are also things that you're drafting. And you're just trying to optimize your points, optimize your stamp layout. And it's a puzzle. It plays pretty quickly.
Holy smokes,
like,
quick.
This is a game where you're like, I am not going to be able to do everything that I want to do because there's only 3 rounds, 3 days, and then the game is over. And I have to say, I freaking loved it. I really, really liked it. And you can play it solo.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed it. Again, I came in with pretty low expectations on it, to be honest. But I like the speed. The speed of it was so quick.
It was very
and it's really interesting because like the first round, you have to score something. And you're not really going to have something super optimally scored for the first round. So it's almost like you almost have to decide in the first thing, what's the one I'm going to throw away?
Pretty much.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's the one of these? Maybe I'll score a little bit, but then it's problematic because later on it's like, oh, I scored all my purples round 1, but now I have a lot of purples and I should have saved that for later, but you didn't know at the time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I like anytime there's some drafting elements to it. I was getting super annoyed at Jamie. He kept stealing all of my good stuff. But yeah, this was a really, really enjoyable game.
Very high player interaction, right? Because you need to take what other people are kind of creating. You're building out your own little thing, but you are stealing from people.
People would probably get a little bit upset by that stuff.
So, some people could, and that's kind of why I mention it, because you're like,
it's
oh, these are my perfect stamps. And it's really interesting, like I mentioned, because some of the stamps are face up, some are face down. So you might take a pile and have no idea what's in it, because some of the stamps are positive value, some are nothing value, and some are negative. So you could end up stealing a pile of stamps that give you all negative points.
And it's interesting because like not only are you, I guess, like taking piles of stamps, like those piles could have goal cards in them. They could have the first player token, which is worth points and whatever. So it's not just stamps. Like there could be a pile of a bunch of different things that you're like, oh, that's really lucrative for all the other things other than the stamps. But this one's got a bunch of stamps in it. So it's, yeah, there's a fair amount of decision space in a very quick game here.
Definitely. And there's lots of variability because those gold cards, there's a bunch that you could choose from. Yep. Anyways, that stamp swap, if you're interested in it, you check out Stonemaier Games. And thank you again to Stonemaier for sending this along. By the way, this was designed by the same person who designed Honey Buzz, which you know I love Honey Buzz. Buzz.
Bees.
Business bees. All right, let's pause the snapshot for a word from the sponsor.
That's me pushing the pause button.
That's Jeff pushing the pause button. For a word from a sponsor of today's video, Titatum Game Studios. So let's talk about their new game, Restart.
Let's do it.
Shall we? In the future, humanity has fallen into dystopian despair.
That never goes well.
We've all been expecting it, honestly. If only someone from the future could travel back in time and save society.
Terminator.
Restart gives you that very opportunity. Restart is a tactical engine-building game in which you'll try to change the course of events on a dynamically built tableau, playing as either your adult or your child self. To succeed, you must recover from the side effects of time travel and regain your mental strength and prevent your future's impending downfall. Bum, bum, bum. Discovering resources or information along the way that will help you. Restart features innovative foldable standing player boards, over 100 unique cards with multiple uses and combos, unique adult and child versions of character miniatures, 4 dystopian scenarios, each based on a different game mechanic, and a campaign mode with extra modules for even more replayability. Follow the link in this video's description to back Restart on Kickstarter, which is starting on October 8th, before time slips away for good.
Clever. Get it?
Yeah, I got it. So that is Restart. Definitely check it out if it sounds like something you may be interested in. And guess what? Jeff and I are actually going to be doing a live stream play of this game, sitting upstairs right now. So we will be doing that very soon. So stay tuned for more Restart.
On pause. Next up from Alley Cat Games, we have Happy Home. And this was also sent to us for review, so thank you to Alley Cat for that. Happy Home is a tile placement optimization game where you are effectively going around a rondel, similar in style a la Patchwork, where depending how far in advance you go, that person will take turns until they pass you, essentially, and you're collecting tiles to add into your home. Your home has a bunch of different rooms in it, and there's a bunch of different tiles that represent furniture, as well as plants and rugs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Brass tacks of this game, you're just trying to optimize each room. Each room wants different types of furniture in it, different colors, and there's a bunch of endgame scoring depending on that optimization. And you're trying to then also play out plants and rugs to get bonus points, essentially.
And like you'll pull a gold card at the beginning of the game too, which will tell you a little bit more scoring. So that's it. It's a very quick game, especially at 2 players, because you have to remove a bunch of the tiles from it, or not tiles, but a bunch of the cards which represent the tiles. Every time that somebody this part reminds me of Wonderland's War a little bit, like when somebody moves from a space, there's the refill of the cards and stuff like that.
The refill doesn't happen until the person goes past it.
And it's getting refilled so much, and that part is going really quickly. And this is another game where it's like, oh my god, I didn't get to do nearly what I wanted to do. Like, I ran out of time, my house is a mess, everything sucks in my house because I couldn't get the card that I wanted, or Jeff took the card, or whatever it might have been. But it's a simple tile placement game. I would say, I definitely enjoy this, very chill, very kind of short game. The scoring was confusing to me.
But
after we did it, we're like, okay, well, now that we know how to do the scoring, that's not so bad.
Agreed. I also just want to throw out too, each room is really tight, and some of the furniture pieces are relatively large, and it's not as easy as just placing
No, some of them have to go up against a wall.
Yeah, some have to be in corners. There's a lot to think about in what seemingly is a small decision space. It's actually relatively large, given how small the rooms are and how big some of the furniture pieces are. Because if you misplace one, then you're basically screwed.
Yeah, you can't
because you can't move them. Yeah. There's also scratches on the floor that you need to cover up.
They're the rats on the boats of Isle of Cats.
Yes,
you have to cover them up.
And those scratches are placed in ways that don't make it easy to cover them with some of the furniture tiles that are bigger. So there's a lot going on here in what's a really quick, small board. There's
also one of the scoring things that has to do with colors of tiles. And so you might get a rug, and our goal was there needs to be a plant and a rug in every room. And so you're like, oh, easy enough. You could put plants wherever, but the rugs have certain colors, and you're going to score points based on sets of colors and whatever in each room. So you're like, oh, well, this room needs a rug, but I already have this color, and that room doesn't have this color. So would I rather the points from this bonus, or do I want this? So there's a lot of little decisions that go into this puzzle for sure.
Yeah, I would say if you like this genre of game, this is just another one in that list of genre of games.
Yeah.
They all play relatively similarly. I would say this one plays quicker than most, which I actually think is a good thing. But yeah, it was great.
It was great. So that is Happy Home. Also, obviously, if you enjoy the theme of interior decorating and stuff, you might enjoy it. So definitely check that one out. Last but not least, we have Nature, and this is from North Star Games, and this was sent to us for review from North Star Games. I will mention this game is currently on Kickstarter, so this is going to seem like something that you would enjoy. You can check it out now on Kickstarter. Okay, Nature. If you have played the other games in this series, Evolution, Oceans, it plays in a very similar way where you are essentially building out species and having to feed your species. So what's interesting about Nature is that it's actually like a modular style game. So you have the base game of Nature, which comes with a deck of cards and a bunch of species, all of that stuff. Then there's a bunch of modules that you can add in to play with the game, such as Jurassic, there's also Flight, there's a bunch of different ones. So you can add in 1, 2, it's up to you. There's 5. So basically how this game works is you are going to be building out species. So at the beginning of a round, you are going to get a new species with a population token. You have to, by the end of the round, be able to feed that species, and you need to feed them based on how much population you have. And so on your turn, you are going to get 1 turn per round. You are going to be drawing cards. So you're going to draw 5 cards. Depending on which module you use determines how you draw, but obviously we played with dinosaurs. So that's what we're going to talk about. Duh. So we could draw as many from either the Nature deck or the dinosaur deck. Jurassic deck. Dinosaur. Jurassic Park.
Not our dino.
Not our dino. Anyways, so that is going to make up your hand for the round, and you can carry cards over. But then what you're going to do, much like in Oceans, is you are going to be playing out those cards to your species because those cards are traits. So a trait might have some defensive ability, it might have a hunting ability, it might have a foraging ability, it might have some special triggers. You can have 3 traits per species, and every round, like I mentioned, you'll be getting a new species. So you are trying to optimize the species that you have in front of you to make sure that they can eat, make sure they can defend themselves, and do cool things so that they don't die.
Yep.
Because the way that you score points in this game is by eating food.
Yep.
So after you kind of play that out, you are then going to go, after everybody does, you'll go into the feeding phase. You're going to select one of your species, feed them. Next person's going to feed one. Next person, so on and so forth. If it is a plant eater, it will eat plant, it will forage from kind of this like little lake
communal
space.
Board.
Exactly. But there's only so much food on that board.
Yep.
Okay, so it could be gone by the time you're ready to feed another species.
Yep.
But that is how you can do things like discard cards in order to get more food in there. But anyways, or you can have a predator. And the predator wants to munch somebody else, but they have to be able to defeat the defense value of another character. And if you can't do that on another player, you have to eat one of your own species. And if you can't eat it all, you will get rid of a population. Once all of your populations are gone from that species, they go extinct.
Yep.
Which isn't good because food is points. You're dead. Exactly. That's basically the game. It plays in, I think it's 4 or 5 rounds. It depends on how many modules. 4 rounds in a base game, 5 rounds if you add 1 module. I think it's 6 rounds if you add 2. Mm-hmm. So it is a very tight game. Like you need to be optimizing constantly. You need to be from turn 1. You need to be thinking about you gotta have a plan. You gotta have a plan. You can't put out too much population if you can't feed something, and then you also have to pay attention to what everybody else is doing because Jeff could have a freaking T-Rex that's trying to eat my squirrel.
True.
Right?
Yep.
And, another thing I didn't mention is you're also like growing your species. So it starts out at a 1 and then you can like grow it to a 2, 3, 4. In the Jurassic everything goes up by 2 and they can get huge. Goes up to 8. Exactly. And when you do that, that basically allows them to hunt and forage for more and they have higher defense and all of that stuff. There's just so much to think about. I personally, I love Oceans, but I haven't played Evolution. I really love this game too. I love these games. They're extremely punishing, though. Yeah,
I mean, they're super combo-y, and you got to figure out the best way to, optimize all of your creatures, because, for example, one might be if the... I can't remember if it's wetlands, whatever. If the wetland board is empty, this creature will eat 2 meat instead of... There's not only do you have to, optimize your creature with its traits, you have to then also assign them to eat in the right order. Uh-huh. But then you also have to pay attention to what the other person's doing because, if they have a massive predator, they're just going to eat your creature, so you need to add defense. There's so much to think about in these games. They're really brain burny.
Extremely brain burny.
I really enjoyed this. I think this one's a little bit more simplistic than Oceans, which I think makes it a little bit more accessible.
I would agree, yeah, because with Oceans, it's like that you have to, this species has to eat here, this species has to eat here, whereas this one is just you're munching whatever.
There's a bit more freedom. Freedom in this one. I would say I would want to play this at 3+. I think this is a 3+
I
game.
think 3 specifically.
Yeah. It was great at 2. I just think adding an extra person makes the decision space more difficult.
Yeah.
You know, because in a 2-player game, it's like, well, I know Jamie's going to try to attack me. But in a 3-player game, you're like, kind of like, oh, who's going the predator route
It's a really good point because like Jeff had set up his species so that my predators couldn't eat them because he had
fast boys.
He had fast and he had elusive, and all of my predators were massive. So I couldn't eat his little elusive guy because my T-Rex was bigger than whatever. And so
too slow and dumb.
I ended up having to go extinct a couple of times. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you enjoy a good like brain burny like combo puzzle, high interaction, extremely, like if you don't like to be messed with, play this solo. Even then the game's gonna mess with you, honestly. But
there's a ton of variability too. Like again, there's 5 modules
and
that all have different stacks of cards.
Yeah. Yeah, like in our game, probably just because like the shuffling wasn't great, I couldn't get any that had foraging ability, and there's so many that have foraging. So there's a ton of cards, lots of variability. So if it sounds like something you may be interested in, we'll put the link and everything in the description below for you to check out. But that is Nature from North Star Games, and thank you to them for sending this along because I love it. Oh, here it is. Modules: Flight, Natural Disasters, Arctic Tundra, Rainforest, Jurassic. Dinosaurs are really fun. All right, that is everything that we have for today's snapshot. That is 5 more games that we have been playing recently. Number 1, we'd love to know, are you excited to play any of these games? Number 2, we'd love to know, have you played any of these games and do you like them? Tell us everything about it in the comments below. Beep, boop, boop. We'd love to know that, wouldn't we, Jeffrey?
Sure.
We sure would. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're interested in buying board games like many that we talked about today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is
the Boardroom Game Cafe.
Oh, heck yeah, it is. And if you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye. Goodbye.
Later days.
Juno's already like, I'm out.
I'm just going to let this grow, I think.
You're going to get a big beard?
What are we doing for Christmas? Are we going to get presents? Probably, right?
Presents this year?
We always say we don't, and then we do, so we should probably just say we're going to.
We could get ourselves, you know what we should do? We should just combine forces and get ourselves one of those big-ass Lego sets.
That's not really for you, though.
But we could do it together.
Yeah, but that's more for me than you. That leans too much on the me side of things.
Just give me some cookies. And I can eat the cookies while I build the Lego. Bada bing. She's ready to go. Well, we're going to be down here for a little while.
You a hot doggy?
She just had a big walk. She's walking so slow.
What's up? She's very sooky right now.
What a suck. Continue. Or begin. Whatever.
In Blat Flip. I'm going to say Blat.
A lot.
A lot.
That makes me think of 3 Ninjas.
Tum Tum.
Tum Tum. I will mention, I cut my lip. That's not what I was going to mention. You could incorporate it into your Halloween costume.
What's my Halloween costume?
Jeff with a beard. What's somebody that has a beard that is notably a person with a beard?
Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, that's who you could be for, I almost said for Christmas. That's who you could be for Christmas, okay?
Dinosaurs are always fun.
Dinosaurs are so fun.